Hi, I'm Rick, and I like to make tiny trees. In today's video, we're going to take a look at this Schefflera. A brief little look into what we're going to do today. So, I had this tree for a couple of months now, I think maybe 5 or 6. I'm just going to defoliate this before we do the repotting work. But yeah, I had this for about 6 months, got it from B&Q. It's just your standard kind of like umbrella tree, as they call them. Or the proper name is Schefflera. Indoor species, for those that aren't aware of it. And today we're going to look at doing a root over rock. So the rock actually in question, I did have a ginkgo on, and that died last year in the winter. I'm not really sure why, but I'm pretty sure that ginkgo's root systems aren't that strong. Being a bit of a prehistoric tree, they're a bit slow at healing. Let's put it that way. So we're trying again with the same rock. It's actually a bit of like coral rock. It's obviously rock, not coral, but they call it coral rock. I bought I think like 3 of these out of an aquarium. A guy was selling an aquarium. I just said, can I have your rocks? And I kind of like all the holes and stuff. And the idea with that was obviously the roots go through those holes and not only just around the rock, but through the rock. And this time I'm picking a bit more of a smarter choice, I suppose, with Schefflera. There's lots of like examples of Schefflera just exposed root. They send out aerial roots quite a lot as well. So, judging by that, I would say they're quite a strong root-based kind of tree. It is actually recovered already as well. This is a couple of weeks ago I filmed this and it's already recovering. So there'll be updates on that. We're just going to zoom through the separating the root part because as you can see, it's in a weird kind of mix. It was like cocoa coir. It was a bit low. It was a bit sandy, but it's one of them indoor mixes that just isn't quite cocoa and it isn't quite outdoor mix. It's a bit weird. And although these trees really don't mind water, the pot just seemed waterlogged all the time, and you can see by the roots that I'm kind of getting off here that although they're long, there's not really much going on. You can see it's a cutting from the root base. Just by the way the roots are growing, there's no like tap root or anything like that, so clearly a cutting off another tree. And this was about, I'm going to say about 30 centimetres tall. You can see one of the cuts already made there while it's still in this bigger pot, and then it's obviously shooted off from there. So now, if you know me, I haven't had much success over times with root over rock or root over anything. Obviously I'm trying it again with the pines outside, as in a recent video, and I'm trying an indoor species this time. If this doesn't work, I think I'm going for a fire, because no, if not, there isn't much more I can do really. I've got a few ports that I could try it with. I know their root systems are strong, and obviously I don't mind drying out a little bit, so yeah, I really struggle with this kind of stuff. But I mean, this practice makes perfect, right? And it's there's some bits of bonsai that I find easy that other people might find hard, and then there's other bits that other people seem to find easy, i.e. root over rock, and I find it extremely hard. So top tip here, I've shared this before I believe, but I'll share it again. So you can buy like sheets of plastic to like kind of support the bottom of the pot. So like whenever you're repotting a tree, you put like plastic mesh down to stop the soil coming out. What I found a few years ago is that plasterer's tape works just as well. So this is just a big roll of plasterer's tape, and this has lasted me about 2 years already. Now, obviously in this pot it's a bit different, you know, the shape's a bit odd, but it's sticky on one side, really lightweight, and obviously once it's in there and the soil's on top, it's easy going. I think it's like £2.50 for this whole roll, rather than spending, I think it's £2.50 for this whole roll, rather than spending, you know, 5-6 quid on a few sheets of plastic. Obviously it depends how much you're repotting, right? It's people don't tend to repot a lot, but I've got a lot of trees and sometimes there's a lot to repot, so just a little hack there for you all. Now Now I do have a Waffle already, which is a variegated species, and that one I put into bonsai soil in a bonsai pot, I believe about 1.5 years ago, and it hasn't really done much, to be honest. Like, it does grow, but not much. So my idea with that one is I'm gonna take that back out of the bonsai pot and put that into more soil, and put that back into like cocoa coir, and get that growing for the rest of the year. Help it grow on a little bit. The trunk's starting to change colour on it, so it's starting to get that kind of like beigey kind of white trunk to it, but it's not the size I want it, essentially. So we're going to grow that on. So it's the end of Christmas now, it's Boxing Day as I'm recording this, and I'll probably upload it tonight as well. With that being said, obviously I know that people are going to be going out buying trees possibly, or if you're anything like me, sometimes you pop past B&Q or your local garden centre to find some really cheap Piceas, because the ones that didn't sell over Christmas then go for like £2 after Christmas. And obviously if you've seen the channel before, I've actually got a Picea glauca outside. And that'll be my next video. So my next video is just going to be based on, you know, what kind of trees you can find at this time of year, and what you can do with them. Because I think buying anything that doesn't look like a bonsai already can be a bit. I think people can't really understand like the scale. You know, when you buy like a Picea, let's say this, you know, it isn't even trained really, it's just growing to be a Christmas tree. Obviously, they're just kind of like trimmed to be a bush. It's then working out what you can do from that and how much you're gonna have to cut off. And you know, when you buy like a Christmas tree, I suppose you don't always think at the time, right, I'm gonna have to cut, you know, 2/3 of this off to make sense scale wise, and then you need the branches in place for that as well, as they're elongating species, and you know, it takes years to build branches off of them. So yeah, I'll be doing a little video about that essentially. So I'm trying a different mix this time. Most of the root over rocks that I've done in the past, I've tried to make like a pasty type thing out of Akadama. Tried it with pines as well. So because this one's a bit more of an indoor species, can handle a lot of water. What I'm going for here is basically cocoa coir, but it's just really watered down. So this I'm trying to stick this onto the roots first, and then essentially my idea here is just to keep the soil really moist all the time. So I'm watering this at the moment like one time every day basically. For an indoor species, that's a lot. Obviously it does drain away quite well, but as I say, these species can handle the water anyway. But essentially I'm using this as a layer between the root and the rock, and then putting some on top just to cover over the root. So I think where I've messed up before in the past with root over rock is I haven't put any kind of soil base between the root and the rock. And then the soil that I have used has been like either bonsai soil or things that aren't quite right for it. Obviously the idea is that you're supposed to use muck, and that's supposed to be sticky, and obviously that then stays on longer term, but I haven't got any of that. It's very fiddly doing this root over rock stuff, and it can be quite stressful at times, but you just got to keep on breathing and make sure the roots are wet, and then you haven't got really a big problem. So I'll be interested, I mean, looking back over this year, gained quite a few followers. I think I had 150 maybe start of the year, all the way up in the 500s now. Thank you very much, and appreciate the support. But I'll be but I'm keen to know if any of you have any questions or any kind of topics you'd want me to cover on videos, sort of like fan requests, I suppose. You know, I can keep on making content, and I feel like in bonsai you don't really run out of content, especially if you've got indoor and outdoor trees. I haven't done an educational video in a while, which I'm looking at doing again soon. But yeah, any ideas from you guys or anything you want to see that can help you? I'm trying not to just recreate the same videos that every other bonsai practitioner puts out. I feel like there's a lot of people that just kind of repeat content, which, it's fine because everyone's got a different perspective on things and it's quite subjective as an art form anyway. So lots of opinions don't really matter too much as long as the information they've got is correct on the basics. But yeah, just interested to see what people kind of want to see. And sometimes I go through my analytics and I can see that there's some videos that do better than others, and that's usually like the Chinese elms, the Ace of Palm elms. And I get that because obviously when people first get into bonsai, they're usually the first species that you look at. Chinese elms are one of the most popular. Maples are like a wow factor to look at. And then it's usually like evergreens, junipers and pines, and I think that's just because a lot of people struggle with junipers and pines, which for me I actually do alright with evergreens. I haven't really had an evergreen die on me actually, quite strange. I've had more maples die on me. Maybe that's just the way I'm treating them. So one thing I am trying this time is obviously it's grafting tape, so I'm going to try and put this grafting tape around the pot on the rock and use that instead of wire. I've used wire before and I feel like the wire cuts into the roots and then it kind of cuts off supply to the roots or kills the roots. I had this with the ginkgo, which is why I had a problem with it. The wire I put on got too tight and then I essentially could peel the ginkgo away and the roots kind of come away where the wire was. So yeah, I'm going to use some grafting tape. This is flexible tape obviously. It isn't really sticky, but it sticks to itself quite well. I'm going to try this just to keep it on the rock until obviously it grows in well enough. And obviously over the years I'm going to be washing away more and more of this soil until we can expose the roots fully. But yeah, we'll just see how this version of it goes. I think Schefflera as a species is a bit of a weird one for bonsai. It's not like because of the leaf pattern kind of thing, like I forgot what they're actually called now, but you get essentially 5 leaves off of one stalk. I forgot what it's called. So it's always a bit obscure as a tree. It's not like you're going to look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's kind of like this kind of tree, or you can't really make pads and stuff out of it. But it's an interesting tree to grow still. So we are coming to the end of the work that I need to do on my indoor trees for this kind of winter period. There's some that I don't really want to touch over winter because they don't do too well where I've got grow lights and stuff, but it's not as good as outdoor light obviously, so I'll just kind of leave some of them be. I've got some jades that I need to cut back. There'll be a video on that, probably just a major cut back on all the jades. I think I've got one more ficus to work on. There isn't really that much more to do, so then we'll be jumping back to the outdoor trees, and that'll be essentially winter work, so that'll be any kind of big branch that I need to cut off. The temperature is dropping around here to I think -2 soon, but it never really gets that cold enough around here to be a big issue to any kind of damage on trees, I think last year I had to protect one maple for a day, and that was it. So yeah, we're getting to that time of year where I can start working on the outdoor trees again, and before we know it, we'll be in spring. And it'll be repotting time, and for 2026 I've got a lot of repotting to do. A lot. I've got a lot of trees in training pots or in training containers that need to be put into their final kind of pots. The big Christmas tree, I need to start down potting that. It's in a majorly big pot and I feel like it's about time. I've got 2 ginkgos that need repotting into their own pots because they're growing together. I've got the hawthorn and the black thorn, which are air layers. I believe roots will start to grow on them. I might not separate them this year, but maybe later on in the year in summer. So yeah, 2026 will be a good year. Hopefully at some point as well, I'll move into a place with more space. So maybe more trees or just a better setup. Whichever one, who knows. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting year for Yasui Bonsai in 2026. I hope to be uploading more regularly. I'm going to try and make like a little schedule, Wednesdays and Fridays or something like that. So yeah, stick around for that. And with that, we're essentially done here. So one more last little look at it. Obviously the pot on top is just to retain the water and stuff while it's still there, and eventually I'll remove that pot and the soil wash away and it'll be more exposed. But thanks for watching. Have a great new year, and I'll see you again soon.